My world that I want to have a little pride in. My world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till you can say I am what I am.
I'm joined down here in the Mart Studios with comedian and thespian, Bláithín de Burca.
Don't know that I deserve thespian now, but
You're a performer. But when I look at you, Bláithín, being not being a smart ass here, but Bláithín is little flower.
Tis
I
indeed,
would
yeah.
not have seen you as a little flower.
no, I've got some. I'd say maybe a thistle. Maybe a thistle or a weed, or maybe a rose. Got some thorns there, definitely. I would say. People do, when generally, people that aren't from Ireland, they'll go, what does it mean? I'll tell them little flower, and they go, oh, and I'm like, it's not correct, is it? It's not very descriptive.
Yeah. Your name very much is the Gaelic version. I mean, we could call you Little Flower Burke, but I'm not going to.
Oh, please don't.
Were your family Gaelic yours?
Yes, yeah. So my dad actually didn't grow up speaking Irish at all, but just fell in love with the language when he was 15 or so. My mother grew up speaking Irish her whole life. In Santry.
People fell out of love with the Irish language because the way it was imposed on people. I went to a school that we did virtually everything through Irish, which meant I was pretty good at Irish, but I wasn't as good at maths as I might have been. And then when you went to somewhere else and it was just lost. I mean, it was very political as well.
Yeah, I think, you see, there is definitely a generational divide, because the thing, I used to work on Siúpa Leabhar in Gaeilge. I still work through Irish. I have a part-time job with Ogres, which is an Irish language youth organisation, so I'm lucky enough to still work through Irish. I get annoyed with people that are my age saying that they blame their teachers, because at this stage, the teachers that they had were the teachers that... I went to an all-Irish school, so my teachers could have been a lot better at the language or at teaching the language or whatever. But people have bad teachers in every single which way, in every single kind of thing. It's not really an excuse for not speaking it. The reason that it's not spoken is because of the stigma, I think. It's because of parents who had a really tough go of it. They obviously don't like the idea of speaking it, and they don't really, and that even if they try to work against that, often you get people, like when I was working in the Siúpa Leabhar, you get people coming in and going, I don't know why we have to do it, but we have to do it, don't we? And it's like, you don't know your audience. Like, who are you talking to?
No, it's interesting because I studied maths in first year in UCD, and because I'd done maths completely in Irish, all Gaeilge, when the guys start talking about, quadratic equations, I wouldn't have a clue.
I know.
But as soon as you put something on the board, that's what you're talking about. And I think that's that was one of the difficulties we found, is that it was fine once you were in a certain environment, but then when you got outside that environment, it became a bit tricky.
Definitely, because there's certain words in biology that I would only know through Irish now and stuff like that, which is mad, because they're not words that I ever use again, hopefully.
Yeah. I would suggest, I was just thinking of this on the way over, I can't think of anybody who does comedy as Gaeilge.
Oh, well, they do exist. So there's a group called Gaeilgeoirí. So it's Gaeilge and Goira, which is the Irish for laughter. So it's Gaeilgeoirí. Very funny. So there's a good few. I actually first started doing comedy through Irish.
Did you?
Yeah, so that was my first thing.
Very brave, yeah.
I wouldn't say so. I mean, it's harder to write through Irish for me personally, because my jokes, I would have to write a whole new set in Irish. I do have friends who would do a gig in Irish and they just directly translate it.
Yeah.
And that would work for them, and it would work for them personally. But for me, a lot of my jokes in the English language are their puns or their wordplay or something like that, and they're just not something that would work. So but they are out there. Sure, there's your Aine Gallagher, and Judy J has some great stuff off Gaeilge, and Aoife O'Connor has done it, my podcast co-host and good friend, and she'll be a guest on the show actually. And there's loads, like they are still going. Martin Angolo as well, Jerry Staunton, good few of them.
Good luck to them all.
Yeah.
I have a friend, and she is an LGBT woman, and she was over the moon when she met this other LGBT woman, and apparently the romance was in Irish, and I thought, how does that go? Which is an interesting one, isn't it? Because culturally, there wasn't a lot of the words we would need because of the culture at the time.
Yes.
Have you ever come across that?
I suppose, well, definitely in the... that's a really good one, because I've been doing interviews. I've done some interviews about the Dublin Fringe show that we're about to talk about, so I've done some through Irish, and I had to look up words like transgender or even disabled, because I wouldn't have had to use that those kinds of words before, not because I wouldn't be speaking to it, but like those are new ideas, I suppose, but like, I mean, there's the same with anything like technology and so on. I mean, Irish is an ancient language, so you do have to kind of move with the times. The English language does that too. You just have to make some words up to twerking wasn't in the dictionary until recently.
Yeah, well, no, that's why when I came back from Australia and I started, we got out and do all of that, and I was having a look and I thought it must be very difficult to be a junkie in the Gaeltacht, because there was no word for heroin.
Oh really? Wow!
I couldn't find it at the time. Now,
Yeah, how would you say it? I don't know. You'd have to just call it down or brown. I don't know. Or a copple. They call it horse, don't they? Copple.
Yeah.
You'd have to find your slang.
I wouldn't know.
You'd have to find your slang. Yeah. Okay. Well, tell me one more time, I'll believe it.
I suspect if you were an only Irish dealer, you'd probably have a limited market anyway.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah. You would be really limiting yourself. I do wonder every now and then if we were to only buy Irish. That's a whole other subject. I'm sorry. Yeah. We got a bit scattered.
Tell me, before you became a comedian, you were saying you were in a band.
I was. Now, this is when I was in secondary school. Do you know what I mean? Are we allowed to curse? I don't like to.
No, say what you like.
I mean, oh good, okay, cool. Because I hate censoring myself, but I can do it. But I do curse like a sailor. Yeah. But yeah, when I was in secondary school, I was in a band, and before that, you see, I have been singing since I could talk. My grandmother brought us up singing. She was a choir master, so I was in the choir, and there was a time you wouldn't believe it now with the husky voice on me, but there was a time when if the choir couldn't reach the note, I would go for the note. You
were a boy soprano.
I was. So that left me, all the smoking and shouting at boys, I suppose. And so I think the voice is gone. I can't wait if once I have a little bit more time, a little bit more money, I might start up some voice lessons again, but because I do miss being able to sing. So I was singing like traditional Irish music since I was a child, and then in school it was rock bands and things.
To a certain degree, there's a logical progression from being a lead singer in a band to being a stand-up comedian, but there's also one, you've got a back behind you that you don't quite stand out. There's no hiding when you're a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, absolutely true. Yeah. I think people do ask me like how I got into comedy, and I think that like I understand them asking, but that's a separate question to how I got into performance. I literally didn't have a choice when it came to performance. I was performing since I could stand up. I was performing. Yeah, like I was in like Fesh Ceoil and Fesh Ockley and all these feshes doing the traditional Irish thing, and maybe some drama like some Ogla Berta and stuff like that, and that was all through Irish. But that was stuff that I was put into, and then I just loved it. I'm an attention seeking bitch, like. I love it.
You have to be, don't you?
You do, you have to.
Otherwise you become a complete masochist.
Yeah. Well, there are definitely some comics that don't like the limelight as much, and I feel, and you can often tell the difference comedy-wise as well, like in their different offstage. Because comedians, I mean, there's kind of a stereotype out there, and it's partly true. All stereotypes are somewhat founded in some kind of truth, but it's partly true that all comedians, are depressed and they're not funny off stage and so on. Partly, but like a lot of the time that's not true as well. I know some very happy comedians, and I know some very funny depressed people as well.
Well, no, I used to write comedy when I was in Australia with a guy, and he performed it, and the two of us wrote it.
Nice.
And you go and see people, and they're very, very different before they go on stage. They go on stage and here we are, and then they come off again and they're back to whatever they are.
Exactly.
The two people I've always said I admire more than anything else were stand-up comedians and motorcycle riders. Because I mean, there's no
equal levels of danger.
But there's nothing I suspect harder than doing comedy because you know when you're coming across and you know when it's not coming across.
I suppose.
Have you dried, as we say? Or does we say the fluency get you through?
The fluency gets you through some of it. I see people when people say to me, "Oh, you're brave and takes a lot of courage and so on." It does, but in the same way as a musician or an actor or a doctor or anyone like that. Like doctors are probably a lot more brave. Fire people are probably a lot more brave. But I understand what they're trying to say. But for me, and for a lot of comics, I think. Because I have a friend who would say, when people say, "Oh, you're so brave for doing it," he goes, "I could not do it. Yeah. It would be brave for me not to do it." So for me, it's like it just comes. It's not that the comedy comes naturally. I'm not saying I'm just naturally funny or whatever. Yeah. But the idea of not being on stage, because it is a weird hobby to have.
It is.
It's very not rewarding. You end up spending money on it a lot of the time. You don't get paid. If you ever do get paid for your work, it's a long way in, unless you're very, very lucky. It's most hobbies make you feel good, and this one, it only makes you feel good a certain amount of the time. It is a very, very weird hobby to have, probably just for psychopaths.
Yeah, not only that, but you can't copyright your material just about unless because we did it one day. We spent 2 hours and you got nothing, and at the end of it, I think we got one joke, and it was okay.
Yeah.
Following day or 2 days later, we turned on the midday show, and there was this much more famous comedian doing exactly the same joke. So you don't even get that. Our Irish audience is benign because I've never been to a comedy here where I saw the comedian being heckled or even abused.
Have you been to many gigs where there's women on stage?
We'll come to that in a second.
They do heckle. There does be hecklers. I've seen it much more frequently. This is just a fact. I'm not making a political statement yet. But I have seen more female comedians get heckled than I have seen male comedians get heckled. But I have seen male comedians get heckled. Irish audiences, I think, I don't know. That's an interesting question because it's kind of one of those chicken egg situations, or not even chicken egg. It's more like Schrodinger's heckler, I suppose, because maybe you're only seeing the heckle. Like maybe we only think that heckling is common in the States because we're seeing it, because someone recorded it and put it online because there was a heckler.
Yeah.
As opposed to because they're there more frequently. You do get them here.
There was a couple of places we used to go to in Australia, and they were just bear pits. You
really?
Go in. I've seen comedians being hit.
Oh my god! I've heard of some places.
There was one place we used to go to, and these people, they would wait for you to get to the punchline, and then they'd scream it out.
I hate that.
Or you'd have something else and they'd say, "Oh yeah, well Rodney Roon was here last week and he told much better than you."
Yeah, oh my god. Well, that would be an issue. I always, and most of the comics that I know would find it very important to never be stealing or stolen from. Yeah. Or not have the joke repeated. I do know some comedians that found out that another comedian has stolen their joke and just stopped doing the joke. Which is like, just gave it to them. There are some comedians, Irish comedians, that I will not mention because of libel laws, but we all know who I'm talking about, who have made a lot of money and a lot of success off stealing younger comedians' jokes. Yeah, for sure.
So, I remember the first time I went to a gig that was all women comedians. There was an event in Sydney, and it was a revelation because it was very, very different comedy. It wasn't just because you were a different person on the stage. Is women's comedy different?
I think because women's experience tends to be different because for a lot of reasons, both societal and patriarchal and so on, and then also because they just happen to be it's a tough question because you're always getting, especially these days with the trans argument and so on, but you know what I mean, you're getting a lot of people going but men and women are different, why don't you just accept it? People not wanting to be binary and so on, why don't you just accept that men and women are... I think women and men's experience of the world is different, and that tends to be because of societal, different societal pressures or privileges and so on. And so because of that, women's comedy tends to be different in subject matter, but a lot of the time it's the same and the men don't notice because they're just I loads of female comedians at the moment, including myself, talking about making dick jokes, right? Yes. I say dick so many times in my set, do not count it. It's mad, and men, I suppose they take it personally because they think I'm talking about their dick, which I'm not. But as well,
it's a generic term, really. Isn't
it? But as well as that, like, they're the ones they go up and make jokes about their dicks. So it's actually the same subject matter. It's just that the women are talking about it probably more negatively than the men tend to be talking about it. Or they'll be talking about their periods or something like that. Yeah. But men seem to think that this is all new and different and all women can only joke about their periods. You've been literally standing up there making jokes about your dick for 10 years. Yeah. And like now all of a sudden you can't hear the word blood on stage. I mean, it's a bit weird. So subject matter wise, I think so. And sorry to say, I think that because women tend to have to do better at something in order to be taken seriously at it. That's just the world that we live in. Female comedians, it's not like for like. Female comedians as a group like that, so if you go to an all-female gig, that will tend to be better than a mixed gig or an all-male gig. It will just the quality will just tend to be higher, because in order to be a woman that's good enough to be asked to do an all-female gig, you'll have to have been recognised on that level. And that is much more, because there are less female comedians, because it's hard to get into comedy as a woman, because there are lots of things, like lots of pressures, people trying to pressure you out, men and women. There's lots of, sexual harassment and so on. There's lots of things that would discourage a woman from getting involved, so there's less women for that reason. And so because of that, you have to fight harder to get recognised on that level. So if you're in one of those all-female gigs, you can pretty much count on it that you're one of the tops. Yeah. And so those gigs are going to be better. I'm not saying that, you take two at the same level and the woman's definitely going to be better. I'm just saying that the quality tends to have to be higher to get recognised on the same thing.
So it should be. Two things I think I have never heard a male say in public was, I've got a really small dick and I'm a shit driver. Because they're the status thing. All males are brilliant drivers, and as you know, they're better than all women.
Oh, don't I know it?
Goes without saying. Absolutely. But it's a strange one. Women tend to be much more comfortable with being self-deprecating, whereas males there's a problem there, because we're supposed to be top dog. It's a bizarre status thing, isn't it?
It is. I love that you've asked me that, because that's something that I think about all the time. This is why I love doing interviews like this, because there's stuff that I think about all the time that I don't actually get to express, and that I'm like, it's really interesting, because again, if you're a woman and you're starting out in comedy and you're looking to other women, so you're looking to Amy Schumer, you're looking to Sarah Silverman, you're looking to even Joanne McNally, you're looking, like Irish acts and so on. There does tend to be, especially at the start, and this happened with me too, just a gravitation towards self-deprecation, because that's where you're comfortable and that's where people will laugh with you. And then these days, I think I don't know whether it's just me, or other women, but I have heard other women saying, I wish you wouldn't do these self-deprecating jokes. Not that we're criticising this woman, but we're just like, she doesn't need to do that to get ahead. Her jokes are good, and so she doesn't need to be apologising for every single one. Because a lot of the time, it actually turns out, if you really, really listen, that the self-deprecation isn't the joke. No, she'll make the joke, and then she'll kind of apologise for it and go like, oh, well, I'm shit anyway. Yeah. And again, this is like grossly generalising, because I do know men that are self-deprecating on stage, but they do incorporate it into the joke. They make it funny. So I try to, whenever I have a self-deprecating joke, I try to make sure that it needs to be there for it to kind of like move the story along. But it's something that you have to be very aware of, because again, we're just conditioned. We are just conditioned to kind of like, I'm not allow myself to look like I feel good in front of people, right? So like, you have to kind of immediately take it back, so that people still find you personable. And I've kind of, personally, I've tried to move away from that by either taking it out if it's not needed, or by making sure that it's followed up with like a joke about me being great, because I think I'm great.
Irish comedians do extremely well in the UK, which you wouldn't necessarily think, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I suppose the UK sometimes like they haven't been given their history correctly. Yeah. And they do like being kind of roasted for their sins, I think, a lot of the time. And then American people love Irish people as well. I think Irish people are loved all over the world, really.
Well, we're engaging.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, if we're not fighting with people, instead of using violence, we use charm.
Yeah.
We speak a common language, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Except in parts of the UK.
The Republicans, though.
Well, no, I lived in the UK during the Troubles, and it wasn't a great place to be. You know.
I would believe you on that one.
But tell me, you also do podcasts. How did that come about?
Well, actually, so Andy Gaffney that runs the Shift Network,
The Shift Network. In the March Studios.
Yeah, the Shift Network. So he and I, we've been friends since, oh my gosh, we've been friends for almost 10 years now, like a good long time. And oh my gosh, I'm old. I'm not old.
You're only a brat.
And old doesn't matter anyway. Can't wait to be old. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No
Trust me, it's overrated. Take the bus pass aside.
Really do. But yeah, so we have been friends for a long time, and he decided that he wanted to. Andy's been like, you know, he's done lots of radio stuff and TV stuff as well himself. And when he decided that he wanted to buy a domain and set up a network, I was one of the first people that he got in touch with. He just sat me down and he said, I want you to do something. I don't care what it is. Do whatever you want. So I ended up doing a podcast with my friend Aoife O'Connor. She's also a comedian. She is going to be a guest on my Fringe show, and she is we basically, it's called I Don't Know Her, and we just talk about things that we like, things that we don't like, and then we do an improv segment. So every week I'll have one thing that I like from that week, one thing that I don't like from that week, and then there's an improv segment at the end where we go onto Wikipedia and we click random until we find something.
So where can people hear it?
You can go online. Yeah. It's on, so you can go to the shift.ie. You can go to, like, it's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, it's on like all the places, Google Podcasts, all the places that you get.
So if we typed in Bláithín de Burca into Wikipedia, we might find it.
If you typed Bláithín de Burca into Wikipedia, if there's an entry on Wikipedia, I'd be very surprised, and I would want to know who wrote it.
Yeah, put one in and say, Bláithín de Burca is the most fabulous comedian.
I am not sure that I can be very vain. I've got a little tiny bit of an ego, I will admit, but I don't think that I'm at the stage where I'm doing my own Wikipedia page. I can be humble too. Yeah. So I wouldn't be on Wikipedia. If you put Bláithín de Burca into Google, you'd find probably like my social medias and then some radio stuff that I've done before. But yeah, that would probably be somewhere there. But if you put I Don't Know Her, then you'll be able to find the podcast. If you put I Don't Know Her, the podcast, Bláithín de Burca, Aoife O'Connor, you'd find it.
It's a strange world, isn't it? Because I grew up before the internet. You wanted to find out who somebody was, it was very difficult. Whereas now, I had an argument with a lawyer last week.
Yeah.
And we were talking about somebody, and he said, well, I couldn't find out any of this information. I said, where did you look? Wikipedia. And I said, well, of course you're not going to find it. Or Google as well. I said, if you want to find out anything personal about people, go to their social media.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
where you find it all out. You find out who they're connected to and all of that.
I know, that's why it's so frustrating, because the types of men, I do have a type, that I tend to date, don't tend to be on social media, so it's very hard to stalk them. Yeah. It's tough. I'm so easy to stalk. You can find me anywhere, and everything's public as well. Like, I mean, people give out to me for how public it is. I'll put something up, and my mum will be like, what if you apply for a job soon? I'm like, first of all, Mammy, if I apply for any job, they better like this.
I had a guest on the show about 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, and then he just cut me off like that. Eventually, when I said, what's the story? He said, will you pull up this photograph? And I said, yes, and it was you. And he said, then he didn't get it, he blamed me for him not getting a job. And I thought, my God, that's really
I'm not
sure
about that.
No, I thought that was stretching it.
My world that I want to have a little pride in. My world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till you can say I am.